Welcome to the F3 Podcast,
where we talk food, football, and fantasy football.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the F3 Podcast. I'm Chef Jonathan Fraser, and I'm here with
Erin Hellischak.
Erin, how are we doing this week?
Not bad, not bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I think we're here to do a little bit of trash talking about what's going on in fantasy football.
100%. Yeah, we're kind of switching up the order a little bit this week, and I think that's a good thing. I know it's been an interesting week the past 2 weeks because we've sort of hit the midpoint in the season, so there's been a lot of bye weeks.
We're at week 10,
coming into week 10. There's been a lot of players that have switched around because of those bye weeks. So there's been a lot of players on the bench. Other ones switched around. There's been some trades. So it's a good week for some fantasy football, I believe.
All right. So this week you're versus High Speed Chase. Is that correct?
High Speed Chase, who, it's not over yet. There's still the Monday night game because we are recording this on Sunday. But I think I slowed him down significantly.
May have got a little bit of a flat tire.
I think he did have more than one flat tire. I'm hoping he got all four.
Should have put a little higher octane gas in the tank when he got going with that. Was not ready for this. And
you're just going.
May have not taken the e-brake off.
He needed to rev a little more. Yeah. So I think it was a pretty good week for fantasy football, at least for my team. It was. There was some pretty good, interesting players this week. We had the really early game Sunday morning from Germany. It was the first regular season NFL game I ever played in Germany. So that was kind of neat because I remember checking the scores pretty early this morning and it was already in the fourth at about 8:30 this morning. So I was able to kind of get the fantasy game rolling quite early on Sunday morning. But yeah, no, it was very interesting to see some of the players who have been emerging quite a bit. Matthew Stafford has been pretty incredible all season long. There's definitely some MVP talk coming his way just for his incredible way that, he's always been such a good quarterback. I've always believed that. And this year's really proving that and for regular and for fantasy football. So that's a player to watch.
Definitely keep an eye on him.
I just so happen to have him. What? I don't know anything about that. And in the game this morning over in Germany, Jonathan Taylor has been proven that that's a pick. That if you got him on your fantasy team, oh my goodness, I think he set a record-breaking amount of fantasy points. I believe it was 48 fantasy points this year or this game. And I haven't seen one player reach 48 fantasy points in a very, very, very long time. And he's very consistent, not at that 48 point level, but he has been, proven to be a player. If you've got him on your fantasy team, count yourself very lucky.
Very lucky.
Very
lucky.
One,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like High Speed Chase was probably wishing they had them on.
Yeah. Wishing he had a better car. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So those are some good. This week was a very interesting fantasy week. Like I said, last week, this week, because of those bye weeks, people have had to switch up some players. Always, maybe not go with your first picks, but especially when it comes to quarterbacks, but it's proven quite interesting. So hopefully if my score holds through the Monday night game tomorrow night, which I think it should, that'll put me in a really good position. But that's enough about my team.
All right. Well, what else is happening in the NFL at the moment right now?
No, it's been, it's this week in particular has been interesting. Like I said, both from a fantasy standpoint, but also from a regular football playing standpoint. We had another international game, of course. There's been some bizarre comebacks in the league. Teams that you think would be doing well maybe are kind of stumbling a little bit. San Francisco has not maybe reached their expectations. They're not playing as well as they should. So it's still, a variety of different things going on, reaching the midway point.
What other teams would you say haven't quite hit their peak here? Because I know we're looking at 49ers. Like, I'm even looking at Detroit a little bit. Like,
yeah. Jared Goff started the season off not as strong as I think a lot of people maybe thought he could or should, but he's starting to improve a little bit. So that's good. Detroit had a pretty good couple of wins, so they're starting to find their footing a little bit there. I think another one here is Miami had a pretty incredible game today.
That's right.
That was pretty impressive. I think it was 30 13 over Buffalo. Like, who would have thought that Buffalo would lose to the Dolphins, and in that fashion as well? So that's been kind of surprising. It's rare for Buffalo to lose in that fashion. So that was an interesting game to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it seemed like they were on fire today.
Absolutely.
Seemed like Buffalo couldn't do anything right in that game.
Yeah. No, it was a really bizarre game to watch. And of course, my Seahawks, they're 7-2 sitting at the top of the NFC West, which, I was watching the game today. And of course, the rivalry is very much between them and Los Angeles, but it was really amazing the way that team has very much come around. They were always a very strong defensive team. Pete Carroll, that was his specialty, and that's really what he believed in. Not that they didn't have a good offense, but just watching the game today, they have and even one of the commenters said it too, and I was thinking about it, they have a very, very well-balanced team. And so that's been really nice to watch that team evolve with a new coach, new quarterback. It's just been a really fascinating team to see sort of evolve over the past few years.
So anything else you want to throw in there before we move on to our team of the week?
That's good, yeah.
As you can see, both of us are fighting colds here. So it's going to be one of those rough ones where we got the energy level is a little bit down and both of us are kind of spaced
little
out
nasally there, yeah. But we're pulling through, because what's better when you're sick to sit on the couch and watch football.
And that's what we've been doing all day, is sitting and watching game after game.
Yep.
And especially after watching my poor BC Lions get destroyed the other day.
In the CFL.
It was nice to watch some NFL games.
Side note for our Canadian listeners and even our American listeners who maybe watch the Canadian Football League from time to time, just this evening, even though BC lost by just a few points in the Western Final on Saturday, I saw the BC Lions owner, Amar Doman, just tweeted not long ago that he believes that the catch in the end zone by Saskatchewan was not actually a catch, and that catch obviously cost the Lions the trip to the Grey Cup. So coming from an owner,
a little
controversy there.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, that was our Canadian football side note.
There's still some stuff going to go on there.
That's right.
Let's get ready that it's going to be who we got in the final there for the Grey Cup.
We have Montreal and the green team we shall not name.
And your parents will be there, unfortunately.
Yes,
sitting in the
and they will not be cheering on Saskatchewan, let me tell you. I think that is a absolute sin as a Manitoban. That's those words don't go together.
All right, well, let's bring this back into the NFL. And let's go to our team of the week. Who are we talking about this week?
We are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, so let's learn a little bit about Cincinnati. What can you tell me there?
Yeah, I mean, they've been around in the league for quite some time. I think more than 50 years for sure. As long as I've been watching the NFL, I remember them as being kind of an average team, not that great, never anything exceptional. Except for and I've always kept my eye on them because of this, when Joe Burrow was drafted, and I believe he was drafted in 2020. He was, a college quarterback that I remember hearing about and watching in college, and really excited when the Bengals picked him up. And I always thought he was a really, really remarkable quarterback. And he is. He brought them to a championship game. He brought them to the Super Bowl in 2022, I think, or 2023, somewhere around there. Unfortunately, they lost to Kansas City, but I think he broke the longest streak in, professional sports, at least in North America, in the big four professional sports, for basically the longest playoff drought of a team. And he was the one that broke it for them. And rightfully so. I think he's an incredible quarterback, combined with some superstars that they have with like Jamar Chase. Biggest problem, maybe not problem, issue with Joe Burrow, and I'm a huge fan of his, is that he has had a remarkably long list of injuries, and currently he's out. He got turf toe at the beginning of this season, just like a San Francisco quarterback, and that's put him on the injured reserve list, and he has not been able to play. So Joe Flacco has taken his place on the team. And I remember, just side note, earlier this year, joking with some people with my fantasy team about picking up Joe Flacco, but surprisingly, he's held it together pretty well. He's, a very well-experienced quarterback, not necessarily someone I would pick for my fantasy team, but he's, been pretty good for them, unfortunately, with Burrow out. But I think if Burrow didn't face as many injuries as he has, I think he would 100% be looking at an MVP because he's a really good quarterback.
All right. Is there any talk of him coming back? Or is there...
He's been out for, I guess it's coming close to about 8 weeks now. And I know their coach was asked about his status and he's kind of being a bit evasive. He had surgery on his toe. So they're hoping that he will come back before the end of the season, but there's no guarantee. It's one of those weird injuries in your foot where the ligament, has partial tear or really severe sprain. I think in his case it was torn, so he did have surgery. And sometimes, like they say, with like tendons and ligaments, those sort of injuries are almost worse than broken bones because broken bones can heal relatively quickly, whereas tendons and ligaments and things like that take a really long time. So hopefully we'll see him back before the end of the year.
All right. Well, who are some other the offensive players that we want to look
so I spoke a little bit about Jamar Chase, and he's been really, really incredible to watch with that combo between him and Joe Burrow. It's been pretty remarkable, and I think that's what's really brought them quite far, and it's a pretty good duo to watch. So yeah, they've got some good powerhouses. When that team is on, they are absolutely on.
And what about defense? How are they known for their defense? Something to work on.
Yeah, there you go. They're not bad, but yeah, I would.
Sort of an average team, not like some of your big defensive teams that you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess now it's time to move on to my favorite section of this whole thing, because this is where I know I get to learn the most, and I've learned a lot about Cincinnati and a lot about the food of this area. And so for me, Cincinnati game day, you're not just watching football, you're going to be getting good eats, and you're going to eat well. So let's
That's the thing. When I think of like Cincinnati, when I think of Ohio, there isn't like a particular food that comes to mind.
Well, I always think about the turkey drop.
In Cincinnati?
Well, from the old WKRP Cincinnati.
Oh, right. Yes, valid.
But that is not a food I picked into this, or this is even a food at all, right? So I was looking into like some of the, I was looking into some foods there. And I want to say this right. The Gohan, American sausage, a German American breakfast sausage, right? Which was pork and beef mixed with steel oats and spice, right? Originally brought by Germans, settlers in the Cincinnati area in the 1800s. And basically it was throwing the rolled oats in there was just a way to sort of stretch the meat to give you more sausage, right? Anyway, so it goes back to the roots of the, the classic working class there. And they have Get On Fest every summer, right? That's sort of like to celebrate the sausage and their German tradition right there.
Celebrate the sausage.
Exactly.
Cincinnati, Ohio, where you celebrate the sausage.
I was also looking in that they have
a good fantasy name, by the way.
Exactly.
Celebrate the sausage.
Montgomery Inn Ribs, right? Founded in 1951, built tender, saucy pork ribs and a signature sweet, tangy barbecue sauce. Their ribs have been savored by U.S. presidents, sports legends, and celebrities, making it one of Cincinnati's most famous exports, right?
I guess that's right. When you think of like Cincinnati barbecue sauce ribs, like, I know
it's a great one right there. And then I also looked at like Buckeye candies, right? Ever had those?
I have heard of the home of the Buckeye. It's the baseball team, but that would make sense.
Named after the Ohio Buckeye tree.
Yeah.
Nuts resemble the candy. These peanut butter balls dipped in chocolate leave a little circle of peanut butter to expose like a real Buckeye. So they've been a sort of a little favorite, and I thought that would be a nice thing. And then, you know what? Like, I really got down to it, and I realized, you know what? The thing about Cincinnati is a Cincinnati style chili, right? Or a skyline chili is what they're kind of known for. This chili is nothing like traditional chili, like you'd have something down, the old Texas chili or something like this one. But it was created by Greek immigrants in 1920. They adapt spices, so they brought in like cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, cocoa into their meats, and then they serve it over like spaghetti, or even better on a hot dog, which would be perfect for the old having at the game, right? Like nothing better than the tailgating there. So I just thought this is like the great way to have this like nice, beautiful chili, sweet chili, and then just add it to everything. So it's however you want to have it. So over spaghetti with some cheese, onions, beans, onions, and cheese, right? Like you got it.
Side note, now that you say chili, this totally reminds me of Office fans will probably remember Kevin's famous chili early on in like season 2 or 3 of The Office when he brings a huge pot of chili and spills it all over the floor. They were in Scranton, Ohio. So, of course, that would make sense.
So now you're making the connection.
Yeah.
So that's my thing is I'm thinking this is like the best game day treat when you're watching them.
Right.
Watching Cincinnati, right? To sit down and get these great flavors and really enjoy the flavors of Cincinnati.
So you have some Buckeye candy. No, first you start with the chili. Then you put the sausages in the chili, and then you finish off with some candy. Is that how it goes?
You've got this nailed down.
There it is. That's all I know.
You're getting your way along here. So anyways, that was sort of my exploration into the wonderful world of Cincinnati and some of the cuisine from that area.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I would not have associated Cincinnati with some, remarkably infamous foods, but that would make sense.
There's lots of great foods from there. Like they've got their ice creams and all those other great things. All right, well, there's our rundown of food in Cincinnati, and it's time to move along. What are we talking about this next week?
So I think we have to go back to our spinny wheel.
Is it time to bring out the spinny wheel?
It is definitely
Let's
time.
do this. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Do.
Speaking of Los Angeles, let's go to LA's other team, the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Chargers?
Yeah, formerly known as San Diego Chargers.
San Diego
Not that
Chargers.
long ago, but now it is the Los Angeles Chargers.
I am interested in this one. This one we could probably branch over a few places.
Oh, I like the food of Los Angeles, so this should be good.
All right, well, so let's recap. What did we learn this week from this episode?
We learned that, yes, if you have Jonathan Taylor, your fantasy team is probably doing quite well. Always have some good backup quarterbacks on your bench because it is, coming into the solid bye weeks.
True enough.
Yep. Joe Burrow is great, but he gets injured a lot.
That's right. We hope he comes back soon.
We really do, because I think he would be great. Oddly enough, if you want some good chili, go to Cincinnati.
Especially for game day, right?
There it is.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the F3 Podcast.